All right, so before we get started, I want to talk to you about 4 things, and I'll mention that while I'm out there. It's position, where I want my pony horse. Where she is right now is a little bit too far ahead. Now she just backed up. That's right about where I want her. I want her head right about at my knee. That's what I prefer. She's, you know, this is the first time I've ponied her. She's probably been ponied a lot in her life. She's 5 years old. She just turned 5. She had a decent racing career, almost won 40,000. That's pretty decent, I thought. And so a lot of times those horses are hyped up and they're always pulling. You always see, you know, I always notice, you know, those guys are letting those horses get ahead of them and kind of get sideways. I don't like that. I want my horse to have the responsibility to stand or to stay right there by my knee. Now, she's being really good right now. She's actually a very, very nice natured horse. Surprisingly good, being just off the track. I'd imagine once we get going here, she's going to start forging. So that's my second point I wanted to make. The first one is where I like it. The second point is the things that usually go wrong. So usually they'll either forge and kind of get turned sideways and ahead of you, or they'll not know what to do. This horse knows what to do. She knows it's safe to be here and have me up above her head right here. She doesn't feel like she's had any bad experiences, and she's knowledgeable about it. Some horses will be like, oh man, what's going on there? And they haven't seen a person up here right next to them. So sometimes you got to give them a little slack and let them travel a little bit further behind. Let your saddle horse get up a little bit further ahead. And then other times, like I think we're going to see here with Ashley, she's going to want to get ahead. So I'm going to bump her back. And when I bump her, I'm going to take the rope and try to bump just the chin with her halter. Bump on that chin. That's how I'm not going to get into a tug of war with her. That's a losing battle. So I'm going to use rhythmic pressure and bump her back and then quickly turn her loose when she's right in the right spot and give her about that much slack. She doesn't need any more or any less rope than that. The third thing we'll discuss is actually kind of another position I like to have. I'm right-handed, so I'm starting her on my right side. Once I get to know her and how she ponies, I'll put her on my left. But right now I'm going to put her on my strong side, and I'm going to keep her to my inside. Because that gives me, I can take my saddle horse and turn her and get her under control a little bit better if I need to. Right, Ashley? So, first thing is where I want them in relationship to my legs. Second thing is, you know, to be aware of is if they're a lagger or a forger. The third thing to keep in your mind, or that I think is important, is to keep them on your inside at first. The horse has to travel less distance as well. If you put them on your outside, they have to travel further, and that can actually discourage a horse from leading up and getting in the right position, especially if they're one that's apt to lag. And then the fourth thing is just have a purpose, have a job. This is just an arena. It's good for filming. It's not great necessarily for teaching, other than we're in an enclosed environment, and if she were to get wild and crazy and get away from me, she's in an enclosed environment. So that's something to consider as well. If you've got one that's a little hotter, or you're not quite sure what to do, when being in an enclosed environment is good for that. But I'm going to have a real strong focus, and I'm going to go back to what I did when I was a kid and young adult, which is I worked a lot of polo horses. I went a lot of miles around the warm-up track, or the exercise track. And I'm going to just pretend I got a track, and we're going to go and we're going to exercise. So that's the purpose, you know, that's the fourth thing, having a purpose. Go somewhere, go to a tree, go to a fence, you know, go to a place, and that helps give your animals a job and a reason to kind of go along with you. So let's go ahead and get started here. These guys are diddling around and kind of wanting to do some stuff. I'm going to go ahead and put them to work. Now she's foraging here a little bit, so again I'm going to bump her chin there, and then I'm going to turn her loose when she's right. You'll probably see me correct her quite a lot. And then I just kind of put my hand on my leg. That puts me in neutral. And it gives the responsibility to, turns that over to her. Now I've got a little bit of a disadvantage here. I'm on a little horse and she's a pretty big horse. Generally speaking, I like it to be the other way around. But these are the two that I picked today to come out here and talk about. Hopefully one of these days it can be Ashley as the saddle horse, because she's a nice big horse, puts you up higher and in a safer position. You bump her a couple times around the chin, get back, control yourself. If I really needed to kind of get her under control, I could take my saddle horse over here and bump her in the shoulders like that and say, hey, slow down here. She didn't really like that. She's gonna have to get used to it. I'm gonna have, my goal for her is quite a lot actually. We're gonna do the thoroughbred makeover competition, see how good we do in that. I'd like to play polo on her. I'd like her to be one of my using horses. She's got a really good nature. She just doesn't know much more than racetrack stuff. So she's got a lot to learn. There we go. Bump her on the chin again. Bump her back. Alright. So, kind of getting to know her there a little bit. Go ahead and trot. She's getting ahead of me again. So same thing. Just going to bump her back. What's great about stuff like this is it's visual. Horses are visual animals, visual and spatial. And a lot of times if you're doing stuff just riding in an arena, it's very non-visual, it's very tactile. The horse has to just follow you places because you said that, not because there's necessarily any obvious visual meaning to it. I like to do this with horses. It gets my saddle horse a job, like I said before. And it's very kind of obvious we all need to work together here. Kind of gets everybody's mind in a collective, thinking as a collective, Come on, buddy. Thinking in harmony. Thinking together, working together. Classic needs to be my legs here. He needs to help me teach Ashley to be a good follower. Alright, I'm going to let her go. She's doing pretty good on the inside there, so I'm going to change directions. Put her to my outside, see if she takes advantage of that. Or she lags behind. Actually, this position probably is better for a horse like her because she has to travel. She's kind of animated and up here a little bit. She has to travel the further distance, and my saddle horse is kind of easy going and quiet, and I give him the shorter distance to travel here for a little bit. Kind of the psychology though here she's to my outside, so she could be thinking that she's pushing me around, right? If that was the case, that's why I wondered there in the beginning if she was gonna take advantage of it. She pinned her ears at me a minute ago when I turned Classic into her and yielded her around there a minute ago. And I didn't know if she was gonna try to get dominant and keep pushing us around, but she's doing all right. Again, a lot of times I've gotten a horse off the track and they're kind of used to dragging on their person that's leading them, pulling on them. Not all of them, but quite a few are. So I try to get that drape in there as soon as possible. I do that by giving a small feel like that and then bumping and saying, hey, listen to that. Good girl. It's pretty good. There we go. See how she managed herself there and she went down to walk? That's a great thing. No, she just pinned her ears. I like doing this because I need her to get used to contact in polo, because in polo you can make body contact. There we go. Lagging a little bit there. They make body contact in polo and they bump similar to the way hockey players check each other. So she needs to get used to moving into and out of another horse's space. A lot of times mares, will kind of get crabby about that. So this gives me a chance to kind of see how she's going to act and be good. She's checked herself there. That was good. Licked her mouth there. She's starting to take responsibility before I have to bump her and get her head back close to my knee again. I like that. She's starting to use her own brain. On the lag here a little bit. I'm gonna take one little dally on my horn. Just one little dally. Let my horse well, that's an interesting little thing. I'll try that again with her to my outside. If that girl. There she goes. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to take just one wrap on my horn. When she comes up off of that, like that, I'm going to undally and reward her for coming up into position. And dally her on. There we go. She stayed with me that time. Just one dally. Alright, so that's a little hard for her. There we go. Good girl. I'm going to put her on the inside. Try to make it a little bit easier for her. Kind of glad that happened. It's kind of the opposite of what I thought was going to happen. Now she's foraging a little bit. I'm not going to discourage it a whole lot. So this is like, the rule is there is no rules. You just kind of got to... Oh, buddy. Know the ideals and then try to get there. You just not canter. Now I've got to go in a kind of a small circle here again, just because of filming purposes. If I was out on the straightaway, I might have better luck. So she's showing her dominance. She's getting upset because I'm turning her now. See that? Don't let that stuff sneak in. Somebody. So this might be too small of an area for her to canter, but that's right. All right, what I'm gonna do, now that she's kind of got her, maybe her confidence up there a little bit, and try going this way and see if I can get her to canter. There we go. There we go. So she just needed her confidence up. Come on, get her. That's it. Classic to stretch out a little bit. So that's the thing. He's a slower, easygoing kind of horse, and she's a little hotter redhead, you know, a little fiery. So they kind of got to meet each other halfway. We all have to work together here to get this accomplished. Oh, it's working. That's why I love doing this stuff. Hey, don't you get ahead of me. Oh. Classic's got a little bit better brakes than she does right now. So that was pretty good. That was pretty good for our first time. You can get a little wild and crazy sometimes. Again, that's why sometimes it's a good idea to do it inside if you've never done it before. It's good to do it inside an enclosed environment just in case things go wrong. I've just got her on an 8-foot rope. I think anything longer than that, it's too much length and you get tangled up in and it can be a little bit more dangerous to go about it that way. Again, I really like doing this with my horses. It's good for my saddle horse. It's good for my pony horse. It gives them a job, a reason, something visual to do, something to do that's more herd oriented. There's 3 of us here. We've all got to kind of figure out how to work together. Some people go around, they don't even realize their horse isn't being a partner because they're kind of getting stuff done. But they're filling in a whole lot for their horse, and their horse is kind of, my favorite analogy is if you and your horse had a backpack full of rocks and you had to haul it up a hill. Those horses get good at, you know, sneaking the rock out of their backpack and putting it in yours, giving you more of the load to carry. You have to use your brain more and they have to use their brain less, and pretty soon you're carrying 60, 70, 80, 90% of the load. You're having to do a whole lot and your horse isn't doing very much at all. They're not thinking, they're not helping, they're just kind of there. And I try to keep that, keep them carrying their load and give them more of the load, more of the responsibility, because in the end that's freeing, right? In the end, the more responsibility that you can give them, the better they feel, because it's a job then. It becomes their responsibility. And they, once they understand what their job is, that's actually soothing and relaxing, and and rewarding to them. Gives them comfort to know, that they're on the right track, that they're doing, hey, that's another thing racehorses like to do, is chew on stuff for some reason. They like to get everything in their mouth. So I discourage that too. Yeah, so I think that's pretty good. That's a pretty good lesson for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that and got a little something out of it that maybe you can take home and work with your own horses on. So I'll see you next time.